Hi everyone, so I've been working more on the PTR and now we have character boosts and runes, and I started to work on some endgame builds. I already made a lot of planners, and the first one I want to show off is the Rain of Arrows Rogue. This is a clip here that I just kind of cut out from one of my runs, and it has a very interesting concept where you proc preparation twice every time you attack with Beastfall boots and then reset your Rain of Arrows immediately. You can see this in action here right now. This is the Rain of Arrows cooldown here. That is actually my right-click ability in this build, meaning that I basically spam it all the time, and it looks hilarious. If you want to see that in action, well, this is what it looks like. This is the FPS destroyer, because you spam like thousands of arrows, and it just looks and feels hilarious to play. So I want to show that off to you guys. I have a setup here of a planner. You can also go and jump in on the PTR and try it out. I managed to clear pit 90 with this, so we're almost there at 100. And this is not using any kind of weird bugs as far as I know. It is just like raw power of Rain of Arrows. It's actually a thing. This is pretty strong. I was able to get up to like several hundred millions of dot ticks. Probably in the range of something like 500, maybe up to a billion DPS or so, depending on how you min-max this. I had fairly good gear here in this because I used the boosting, and I started masterworking some gear and so on, but there's definitely optimizations you can make. And I think I might have made this build too tanky as well a little bit, so I might tweak that further in the future. But for now, I was very happy with the result. I was not really struggling to get this 90. This was literally first try. And it can go higher, maybe all the way to like 95 or even closer to 100, meaning you can reach the highest difficulty. At the very minimum, you will be able to level your glyphs to 100 relatively comfortably with this. So it is just a really cool build. Yeah, you just kind of stand there, you spam Rain of Arrows all the time, as you can see here. So this is achieved with the cooldown resets. The way that I actually play this is that I hold down shift for force attack or force standstill, and I hold down left click as well for my barrage. You can also use other core skill, it doesn't really matter. The core skill itself does literally nothing in this build. It's just there as a conduit to activate your preparation procs. In fact, at some point I was actually doing some twisting blades, because twisting blades has the fastest animation. I was actually able to achieve even higher DPS, just kind of like twisting blades into the air between my Rain of Arrows casts, because all you have to do is cast one core skill all the time. So I hold down the shift and the left click, and then I spam tap right click and my concealment. Concealment is also nice because it just gives you this unstoppable all the time, so you break CCs. You see here there's an unstoppable effect above my character, and I get feared, it instantly breaks. So you're kind of just like CC immune nearly. And I had a Terrorist Might in this. I felt extremely tanky. You see my barrier is always up. This is the second wind barrier, because we spend so much resources, you constantly get this insane barrier. And it's just like a really nice combo. You just kind of like, you know, set up your trap, jump in, and then you start blasting. And it's really cool. And compared to many other rogue builds, you actually have fairly decent output on the boss. And even when the boss is not staggered. So when we go further here, so we have this. For example, I engage this boss at 6:23 left. And well, let's say 1 minute later, he's at half life or something. And another minute later, almost dead. So I actually do okay damage while the boss is not staggered, which is something that most other rogue builds cannot really say. Since there's not that many like conditional CC effects in this build, there's no lots of frigid finesse ranks on the amulet, since we have a unique amulet. We also don't have that many like, you know, damage while enemy is CC'd effects in the setup. So that's kind of nice. You can actually push to the higher tiers relatively easily. And in fact, I found that the single target damage was surprisingly good compared to the AP damage. I'm not really sure why, but this is also part of the reason, I guess, because we actually just deal damage to the boss continuously. Anyway, let's jump into the setup here. I just want to explain a little bit what this looks like. We are using the new Alchemical Admixture passive, which is one of the craziest things that Blizzard has implemented here. And I'll also explain why. There's a lot of synergies that go into this and make poison builds in particular very powerful. This imbuement potency counts for the main effect of the imbuements. So in this case, in the poison imbuement, we actually just scale the damage, similar to the shadow pops. In the cold imbuement, it unfortunately doesn't really do anything. It just gives you more chill, and you kind of just freeze everything instantly anyway. And yeah, this is mostly a poison thing here. So this is where we will ramp up our damage pretty hard. And also compared to the past, we can now put points into Rain of Arrows in the ultimate skills. So we can have more ranks, meaning we have more base damage, and we also get a lower cooldown. And this allows us to get Rain of Arrows quite easily to a point where we can reset it with just 2 preparation procs. So usually with only 1 rank in the past, this was a 50 seconds base cooldown. Even if you reach the cooldown cap, you will have minimum 12.5. But these days you can get it down to either 41 seconds base cooldown with just 5 points, or 36 when you have a Shaco as well. And either way, you can get to the point where you have 2 preparation procs giving you -5 times 2, you just have instant reset. And this allows you to play this entire combo that I just showed off. We have the Beastfall boots that allows you to spend all of your resources in one go. It also gives you a bunch of other okay stats, lots of movement speed in particular. For some reason, these boots have insane movement speed, so they kind of just cap you out. But also, you combine your ultimate skill with a core skill. So you see this here, every time you cast the ultimate skill, next core skill will consume all of your energy. And now just the goal is to get to 150 maximum energy in order to get 2 preparation procs in one go. Now when I played this, it was fairly consistent, but sometimes, I don't know, let's say 5% of the time, I would just get 1 preparation proc and then just another one right after that. I'm not really sure why that happens. It might just be a bit like buggy or something like that. So this is something that occurs, and there's not much that I found I could do about it. I tried also, like, for example, stacking up a bit more maximum energy. So I overcapped this 150 and maybe go to 180 or something like that. That did not really seem to solve the problem. So I'm not sure where that is coming from, but either way, it is almost always working correctly. And then sometimes I only get 1 preparation proc and have to wait like 3 seconds. But yeah, very rarely. So this is a combo. So we get extra maximum resource. You can get it on the boots and then also the Harlequin crest. It is also possible to get extra maximum resource high enough with just the boots. So for example, if you don't have a Shaco, then you can do this here. Actually, there's also maximum resource on a helm that you could put if you don't have such a really good Beastfall boots, if you don't have the Shaco just yet. But the Shaco actually just helps us with so many things in this setup. We get knife, armor, the resources, we get the 4 skill ranks, which affects both the Rain of Arrows and the poison imbuement, and we get some damage reduction. So it's just like a really nice all-around choice here. I also added Terrorist Might here just to kind of just be tanky, stand still and blast and not have to worry about anything, not have to dodge anything. It felt very comfy. I was just tanking bosses with 3 tormented stacks in pit 90. It didn't matter. So I was quite tanky on this build. But yeah, this is the main combo, and all the other stuff is basically just like feeding into this whole like poison synergy. Now about the key passive here. So this is a very important way to scale the damage in the future for poison builds, and we do this a lot with paragons and glyphs. There's a canny glyph that gives you non-physical damage. You want to ramp that up as much as possible. So you see this here, we have 54 int. Maybe you can even find a better board for it. But this non-physical damage gives you shadow, cold, and poison, giving you a triple benefit for Alchemical Admixture. So this is where most of the scaling comes from. And on top of this, it also has the non-physical damage as a legendary effect. And this also feeds into your character details, which is what the key passive scales off. So this is like the typical Blizzard Math problem. There's like some double dipping going on here. So first you get all this non-physical damage as a stat, and then you multiply all of that with this glyph again. And then you also benefit from another damage multiplier that the glyph gives you. So there's a lot of double dipping going on this. This is true for basically all of the Alchemical Admixture build. You always stack non-physical, and then you have these glyphs that also give extra non-physical. Or in the case of, for example, a Bane glyph, we have the same story here with poison. So this just multiplies your poison damage, but it's also part of this non-physical effect, and also has this legendary effect that double dips into the key passive, so that's pretty strong. Then the same story here of efficacy also has non-physical multiplier, and also gives us the imbuement potency, which is very nice here. And then we also have the tracker glyph again with poison damage. And the last one here we have just versatility, ultimate skill, non-basic, non-core. So this also busts our damage pretty significantly. We have this here. We have a very strong paragon board, and especially once you have those paragons and those glyphs leveled, you get a lot of power in the key passive. So it might not really come online that soon. However, it might be quite playable even in earlier game, because as you see, the power level of the final build is relatively high. And Word of Arcane kind of just solves most of your problems by itself with the lots of extra Rain of Arrows cooldown, and then the chance to cast twice. So you just kind of get it by default, and you don't have to really work for it. And then, yeah, as soon as you get like some of these glyphs going, you will be able to dish out a lot of damage and progress in the higher torments. So it's a very fun to play build. There's also like some other little stuff in there, like we have the Caltrops. You want to mostly just throw them on the boss here and there. I have like one roll of Caltrops duration, so I don't have to do that often. It lasts like 12 seconds like this, for example. So that's pretty comfy. And then we have the dash here, so you just kind of like dash forward, you press a Rain of Arrows, you reset your dash, you dash forward again. You can just do this like infinitely basically, so that's kind of cool. Then we have the Smoke Grenade as well. It has a 25% extra damage. We also get a Daze there, so this helps with staggering, for example, helps with just kind of crowd controlling in the lead pack. So the way that I played this sometimes is that I would just kind of like walk around through the pit, trying to make it like a bit of a pull, and then I would do the Caltrops, I would follow up with a Smoke Grenade, and then I start blasting, and everything would just melt. So you can do some combos like that, where you can play this a bit more tactical. The Dark Shroud here is obviously included in any rogue build. The fun thing actually about Dark Shroud is, in this build, I don't actually have Umber's Aspect. So usually you do this with Umber's Aspect to just trigger it from your crits, but I learned you actually have Dark Shrouds on the runes. So I used the new runes, and I have the Yule rune that gives you the trigger when you cast a skill of a cooldown, and then we have the Mod rune that gives you the Dark Shroud Shadows. So kind of funny, but I found this to be pretty nice because now I can get Noxious Ice on my pants. And that's a 40% damage multi for poison damage, which is all of our damage here. And when the target is frozen. So you freeze them instantly anyway with just the Rain of Arrows, just having the cold imbuement, like everything is insta frozen. And okay, in long fights, sometimes stuff will become unstoppable, or the boss fights, they will not have Perma Stagger, but it is a pretty strong damage multiplier. And I found this to be a good enough trigger for our Dark Shrouds. I had 5 Dark Shrouds all the time anyway, even without Umber's Aspect, just using this. Otherwise, you can experiment a little bit, just make sure you have those Dark Shrouds in one way or another. And my other rune combo was this one here, cast an ultimate skill, and then you get 150 offering, and I think it costs 400 for the Warcry. And since you cast an ultimate skill like every second or so, we permanently have Warcry, we permanently have Berserking. That was really cool. But as I mentioned, you can also try other stuff. You can also try stuff like Decrepify or extra life or extra skill ranks. There's a bunch of different things you can experiment with that all kind of just work and help you. But yeah, it felt really nice and smooth to play this. If you don't play with the Tyr's Might, here for example I have the Shroud of Khanduras. It's a very powerful item for economical admixture builds as well. It has a lot of non-physical damage on it, so the key passive actually deals more damage. So you see here the multiplier is 736, and with the Tyros it's only 568. So this is actually something like a 20-25% DPS boost to run the Shroud of Khanduras. Pretty nice, but I didn't actually go for it for this variation now. But I think it will be maybe the high-end choice. So kind of the early game choice before I get Tyrios, and then the high-end again for like pushing to the highest pit. I felt running Tyrios was very comfy just because he's so tanky. But there's another advantage here with Shroud of Khanduras, which is that it can be basically permanently immune, because you constantly reset your Dark Shroud, and it doesn't reset while it's running, but you have this 2-second window. So you press Dark Shroud, you're going to be immune for 2 seconds, and then the next time you cast a Rain of Arrows, after that you will reset it, and you can just kind of expand this Dark Shroud immunity all the time. So this also is pretty strong, but you have to solve your resistances in a different way. So this has Shadow Res already, and then you have to put some res here, and maybe some on the pants. So this is kind of important. Instead of like Tyr's Might just giving you all the res that you ever need, you kind of have to go for extra res with this setup. But it is a kind of a DPS improvement, so they can squeeze out another pit tier or 2, and you have this immunity playstyle, which can be kind of nice. So for now, this is what I got here for the Rain of Arrows rogue. Stay tuned for more setups. I have a lot of stuff prepared here. I'm very much looking forward to trying many different builds on the rogue and on the other classes. So we have a lot of uploads in the next days. For now, this is what I have here. This Rain of Arrows build is also linked. You can find this on my Discord in the Woody Builds channel. So it's linked in the description. And also this planner specifically, you can find it there. So hope you like this. Wish you guys good luck on the PTR if you're trying this. Otherwise in Season 6. And see you guys next time.